Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This video is going to be a little rough, as you can see by my camera quality. But I just received some news today. Some news, and excuse my glistening forehead here. Some news about a game that we all know and love. I'm talking about Devil May Cry 5. Now, when it first dropped, one I was already on the edge of my seat because, frankly, now there's a lot of people out there who think DMC was a great game. Gameplay-wise, revolutionary. Story-wise, I hated it. I didn't like how Dante was. He was too much of a punk, I should say. Like, Dante is supposed to be quippy, he's supposed to be funny, he's supposed to be entertaining, and of course he has that devil may care attitude. I had to use it at least once. But I mean, generally he's a fun-loving guy. The Dante from DMC was more of like, I'm just gonna curse up a storm because I can, and I don't care what you think. Dante from DMC is like the representation of what they think anarchy or anarchist level British people are, where they're just throwing up middle fingers everywhere, and then they're just like, oh, I love, blah 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 blah. Like nobody really acts like that, and that's why I didn't really like that game. But I mean, play wise, I liked it. I liked playing as Virgil, because Virgil's attacks are way cooler. I wasn't really a super fan of the angel versus demon weapons, or having to switch between them for certain enemies and stuff like that. But when we got to see Devil May Cry 5, I was on the edge of my seat because I'm like, I'm ready. I'm ready for DMC 5. Like, this is what I've been waiting for like years. I was like sitting here like, oh my god, when are we gonna get a DMC 5? Like, when is it gonna happen? Because I'm ready. I've been ready. Every fan out there has been ready. Like, we've been waiting for DMC 5. When they announced it, first when I saw that haircut, I got some chills, some twinges of anger, because I thought it was gonna be DMC Dante, and I was about to backflip and be like, not again. You're not getting me again. You got me before, you're not getting me again. But it was Nero. Nero got a little older, even though he didn't have a butt chin before. I don't know when he grew a cleft. But I guess because they're doing the realism and they're picking like real faces for the characters to make them look more like realistic instead of like anime cute guy. Now they're doing like real model cute guy. But I saw some of the gameplay. I was impressed. It's feeling really fun. I saw some of how like the cinematics are, the bullet time where you got to see Nero just shoot people in the face, and Nico, I think that's her name. Basically his blacksmith coming through with all of the weapons, like, I got what you need here, honey. With her southern hospitality. And then of course in the trailer they gave us Dante flying in on the motorcycle out of nowhere. Now it wasn't like he was like that's the thing. When does Dante ride a motorcycle? That was my biggest thing. Dante has motorcycles, or he probably owns them, but he never really rode motorcycles. Lady rode a motorcycle. The first game, Trish came in on a Kawasaki or something. Like, everybody else rode a motorcycle. Dante walked everywhere. So there was never really a time when Dante rode a motorcycle, except for Devil May Cry 2. So that, to me, when he came in with the motorcycle, everybody's like, huh? And then he had, the scruff, and then we're like, Dante never had facial hair. Like, there was never a time where he needed to shave. Like, he was always smooth chin. So it was like, is he old? Like, what's happening? Now, of course, there was a lot of speculation, like, when is this going to take place? Is it after 2 or is it after 4? If it's after 4, Nero really went through some changes if it's after 4. Or is it after 2, which would make sense because Dante's a lot older and he was a lot older in 2. So we're like, where does it take place? I got word from one of my friends, and then I also saw some of the tweets that they tweeted out about them confirming it in interviews, which I'm like, y'all sitting here trolling because now I gotta like scan through all of your interviews where you said that it took place after Devil May Cry 2, knowing damn well that the fans don't really like Devil May Cry 2 that much. And in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I liked it. I like Devil May Cry 2 because you got 2 stories. Now, of course, when you play Devil May Cry, you always had to play with one character through one linear story, and you had to just go one way, and that was it. I like the fact that you're playing from one side, even though it was a way to kind of like cheat maps, where you would play up the map as Dante, and then you would play down the map as Lucia. I thought it was kind of cheap, but I mean, when I was a kid, it didn't really matter to me. Now, the thing that really mattered was the fact that, or the thing for me for the game that really mattered, is not only that the fact that Dante had 2 Devil Trigger forms, but it was also the fact that that game pioneered a lot of the stuff that made 3 what it is. Now, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, no, it makes sense that 2 would create 3. It's a sequel after a sequel, even though the sequel's a prequel. But I'm saying that without 2, we wouldn't have got 2 Sometime. We wouldn't have got Bullet Rain or Making It Rain. I forgot what it's called. I call myself a fan. And we wouldn't have got like his running up the wall stylish moves, or you could run up the side of a wall and slam the blade down. We wouldn't have got that. Like, you know, there's a lot of things that we wouldn't have gotten. And then there's the idea of like gem powers up for the Devil Triggers, because the Devil Triggers usually was just a boost of whatever the weapon was. The weapon gave you the Devil Trigger. That was the real thing. His demon blood wouldn't activate unless the weapon activated it. In this one, it was like, no, you have a Devil Trigger, but now you can enhance it. And then for Dante, of course, him being the Legendary Knight, he has the Majin mode, which is basically like him tapping into his full demon blood and grasping the strength of Sparta in his most powerful form, which you could only do when you're in red health, unless you broke the game, and then you could always go into Majin, and then beams everywhere and bullets flying and you're unstoppable. But without 2, we wouldn't have gotten 3. And of course, everybody loves 3 because of the story. The story was pretty good. The action was incredible. The weapon selection. I mean, personally, Navan and Cerberus was my go-tos. I mean, I liked Beowulf a little bit. But it wasn't Ifrit. That was my thing. Beowulf wasn't Ifrit. Ifrit felt more powerful and just felt more fun. Beowulf kind of felt like, I don't know. It wasn't for me. And then you had, you had Rebellion, of course. What was the other ones you had in there? Artemis was the replacement for Nightmare, which was the gun from the first game. What else? Agni and... is it Ragni? Ragni and Ad? Oh, God. I need to get my list ready, but you know what I'm talking about. And then we got 4, where we had Nero. Now that was the other issue. Nero in number 4 didn't have a lot of weapon selection. I mean, he really just had Red Queen and his gauntlet arm, and then he could pop Devil Trigger when he needed to, and then have his stand, doing the extra strikes and everything, his Ouroboros. But that was all Nero had. And then, like, of course, when we played Dante, we got Gilgamesh, we got Lucifer, we got Pandora. You know, Dante, of course, bringing in all of the flair and pizzazz with all the creatures he's killing. But then they confirmed that 5 is after 2. So, frankly, I was already buying the game. Like, you already had my $60. But I feel like if you decide to put out a limited edition or a special edition pre-order, which I would hope you would do that, because I mean, I understand it's a cash grab to put out the game first, after maybe like a year or so drop the limited or special edition that puts in Virgil, since clearly he's not playable, puts in Virgil and puts in Trish and Lady and Lucia, bring her back into the fold. We need Dante and his devils, Charlie's Angels, Dante's Devils. Can we get this on paper and in the game? But I mean, like, we have those, but I'd rather you do just give me a pre-order of the limited edition. I get to play with not just Dante and Nero and the new guy. I get to play with Lady. I get to maybe play with Trish. You bring Lucia back with those dual blades and maybe give her some other weapons that kind of match her style of like dual wielding weapons. Maybe because she had kicks too, so it's like, give her like some feet blades or something. Like, give her Lucifer for her feet, or, you know, to where she has dual blades on her feet and she uses that, or, you know, and she has her regular like double-handed like arm blades, or, you know, throw some tonfas at her, or, you know, give her something like, just give her all of the two-handed weapons. Just let her have all the two-handed weapons. Maybe she uses I forget, is it Agnes and Ragni? The two swords with the heads? Like, maybe she uses those. Options? And this freaking fly is pissing me off. Anyway. But give me some Lucia action. I want her in the game. And then if we could get Virgil, and then Virgil's gonna be older. See, my thing is, what I would also want, if we get Dante at his most powerful, can we get Virgil tapping into the Neo Angelo energy? Because I'd want that too. Like, if he could tap into the Neo Angelo energy again, like, because it looks like, from what I'm seeing from the trailer, it looks like Virgil is just in there with his old like decaying face, kind of looking like how they always release Sparta. They always have Virgil in here with the his like pale skin, the red eyes, his hair slicked back and everything, but it's like cracks going up his face. I thought that's how he looked in the game when we saw him taking Nero's arm. So, and you got to remember, he also took Nero's arm, so he's probably taking the rest of his demon power back, which he probably put in Nero for the time being, since he was under the power of Mundus. Dante freed him, and then he was like, all right, well, let me go to this town, knock up some chick, put some of my power into this baby just in case Mundus decide he want to take me over again, figure out some stuff, and then do my business to become the most powerful in the underworld type of deal. But yeah, give us some of that. Like, I want more of those things. But all in all, I'm super excited that it's after Devil May Cry 2, because they're not gonna play this game anymore. They're not gonna fade Devil May Cry 2 anymore, because I think like the community just doesn't like that. Devil May Cry 3 is the best out of all of the 4 that came out, even above the new DMC. Sorry, you rank below 2 to me, but 2 is on my list though. 2 is still up there. Like, with mechanics wise, of course they took out a lot of the weapon stuff, but I liked all the finesse, which I feel like, okay, where 1 kind of set the bar, I feel like 2, even though it was made by another studio, they focused more on the guns. I don't think they really focused on the blade stuff, which is probably what people were like upset about, because they had more gun choice than they had blade choice. So you had like machine guns, you had your rocket launcher, you had your pistols. Like I felt like they had more options for you with guns than they did with swords. And I mean, if you took the time, you could get the which I'd also like to see, if you could get Vendetta. That was my favorite blade. Looks like the Ganondorf sword. I didn't really like the serpent blade that Dante would get. And then Lucia would of course get these straight blades that were like square edged, and then another kind of like super curvy like arm blades. But I mean, yeah, just bring Lucia back. Let's get Dante's Devils. And then they could do the action pose where it's like Dante sitting in the back, and you got the three girls doing their own like, you know, special poses and shit, and they like burst in with the most hilarity, like, you know, all that other stuff, because Lucia was waiting for him. Like when we played if you played to the end of the game, spoilers, if you played to the end of the game, and you saw the end credits, Lucia was flipping a coin, and then you heard a motorcycle outside. Now, we didn't know if Dante came back, but we heard that motorcycle outside, which we're thinking, if it wasn't Dante, it was Trish and Lady, like, coming back, and then they're like, who's in our shop? Like, who's this girl? And she's like, oh, I'm waiting for Dante. And it's like, oh, so you're joining the Demon Hunter squad, right? Cool. So yeah, bring her back. Just come on. Like, I'm ready. I'm ready for DMC 5 to drop. 5 is one of my favorite numbers, and if this is going to be the last game in the series, bring everybody in the game. Let's have multiple story modes, multiple like pathways that you could travel. Like Nero, like that's the other thing too. These games weren't that long, so I'm hoping that with development, sorry that I'm like leaning out of the camera. I'm hoping that with the development team, they're making the stories to where it is each character, which we're basically going to be focusing on Nero, Dante, and whoever this new guy is. But give us like a nice, good, you know, a good meaty story for each of the characters. I'm talking like a day's worth, 24 hours worth of story. Like, of course, you know, you can't. That's a lot of game, like, you know, for people. But I mean, still, like, come on, like at least a day for each character. Like, you really gotta figure out these puzzles. Like, and not like a day like where the game literally takes a day to beat per character. No, it's just like the puzzles have certain mechanics that may take you some time. But if you know everything, maybe you could beat it in like 5-6 hours. You know, a good strong playthrough for each character. Like, make it so that like a whole day is like the whole game, like, you know. And then if you have the other characters, I mean, introduce to where they're going through all of the main stories, like levels, like Lucia or Trish or Lady's got to go through. She's got to go through a Nero level. But then after she beats it, she's got to travel here, which is like a Dante level. And then it's like, oh, she's got to do some shit over here that Dante just left over some demons. So she got to help that. Oh, she got to go to the new characters level. Oh, he was in some library somewhere, and she's got to retrieve some books so that she can get it to him. Like make their story kind of be linked in with the main 3 stories, and have them be like characters to where, like, if they're introduced as part of the cinematics, which I feel like they should be, but if they're introduced as part of the cinematics, they did something to help the story progression, and then when you actually play them, then you see what they did to get the item or the task done, or, you know, the mission done for them to get to that space to do that. So it's just like, just bring it full circle. Let's get Devil May Cry 5. A 5 out of 5 stars, game of the year for when this motherfucker drops. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please drop in the description below. Any things that you liked about the video. Sorry, it's a little choppy. And I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, don't let the fact that DMC2 and DMC, the Reborn, tried to mess up Dante get you down, because the dawn always rises on the 5th day. Where's the stop button?